Hey everybody, I am Diane Gale and I am the author of the blog SustainableSlowLiving.com, and today you and I are going to make a stuffed cabbage skillet. There's a couple things I want to tell you. I'm going to make it quick so that we can dive right in and get started. The first thing is when you go to search a recipe like this online, you're going to find version after version after version of unstuffed cabbage skillet. And you know, I'm sure those recipes are great. As a matter of fact, I do a recipe like that for an unstuffed egg roll that is pretty fabulous. But these are a labor of love, and it shows through in the final product. So I urge you to try to make a stuffed cabbage skillet. Second of all, this is my grandmother's recipe. My grandmother was the cook at a little country school, a little local school for many, many years. She was the only kitchen help. She did it all. She bought everything, she cooked everything, she served everything, she cleaned everything up, put everything away. And so I know that some of you who follow the channel and the blog know my grandmother. And I also know that you have eaten her stuffed cabbage. Now, she called them piggies, which is a little bit confusing because if you look up piggies, that's not what they are. They're a hot dog in a dough and, you know, baked in the oven. But you may hear me slip and call them piggies in this video because that's what I'm used to calling them. And if she cooked them for you, that's what she called them. When I worked at the family business and I would be eating them for lunch, people would come in and they would be like, "Oh, are they Ruthie's piggies?" And everybody always wanted to know what Grandma's secret ingredient was, because my grandmother's piggies, stuffed cabbage, were just a little bit different than everybody else's. So we are going to talk about the secret ingredient later on in the video. But let's get started. There are some things that you need to do before you do this recipe. Like, you can do them ahead. You can do them the day of too. But one of them is to cook your rice. You want to cook your rice. And if you can do it ahead and let it cool off and then put it in the fridge, that's even better because it keeps it a little bit more firm. It doesn't mush out as much in the beef and rice filling. And another one is to cook your head of cabbage. Now, you don't want to cook your head of cabbage all the way through. You just want to take a big old soup pot that your cabbage will fit down in, and you want to put a little bit of water in the bottom of that soup pot and get it boiling and set your cabbage down in there with the stem side down. You leave it in there for about 10 minutes with a lid on, and then take the lid off, pull the pot off the heat, and let it all cool down. And if you're not going to use it until the next day, you can put it in the fridge, you know, or you can do it an hour or two before the recipe. It's gonna partially cook the cabbage so that you can get the leaves off. But I will quit jabbering on about the recipe now, and I'm going to bring you over to the stove, and we're going to make the sauce that you'll use to top your stuffed cabbage rolls. So come on with me. So I've got a saucepan here. I've got the heat turned on to about medium, and I'm melting 2 tablespoons of butter in the saucepan. We don't have to wait to put in the rest of the ingredients. We can just go ahead and put them in. I have a half a cup of, you know, a medium chopped onion that I'm going to put in there. And I have 3 garlic cloves that are sliced. We're going to toss those in. I have a half a teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of ground pepper, and they will go in as well. And then we're just going to saute this until the onions are a little bit translucent. So there we go. We've got a little translucency going on there. And now I'm just going to take a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. This is unseasoned. You really don't want to pick anything up with seasoning because you want to season your dish the way you like to season it. And I'm going to throw that in there and give it a little bit of a stir. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in 1 tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. And that's it. We don't have to bring this to a simmer or anything because it's going to get baked in the oven when it's poured over top of the stuffed cabbage rolls. So I'm just going to take, and I turned the heat off. I'm going to leave this sit on the stove, and you and I are going to make the filling for the stuffed cabbage rolls together next. So in this mixing bowl, I have a pound of ground beef, and to that I'm going to add a cup of cooked rice. I was able to cook this yesterday, so it is a cold cooked rice. Just going to take my hand and break it up there a little. And then I'm going to add a half a cup of finely chopped onions this time, a half a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of ground black pepper, and 2 tablespoons of parsley. 3 garlic cloves, minced, cut pretty finely, 1 beaten egg, and a half a cup of tomato sauce. Now, I know I'm using my hands to wipe all these liquids out of these bowls, and you're probably like, oh, why is she doing that? You can go ahead and you can try to mix this up with a spoon if you want, but it's kind of like meatballs. You just got to get in there and mix it up. I find the easiest way to do that is with your hands. The next step is to stuff your cabbage rolls, and for that you're going to need your cabbage leaves. Now, I talked to you a little bit in the beginning about just, putting this head of cabbage in a big soup pot, a little bit of water in the bottom, turning it on and letting it steam for 10 minutes with the lid on, and then just letting the whole thing cool down. Oh, there's a couple things. First of all, your outer leaves are going to be much easier to peel off than your inner leaves when you're done. That's normal. Don't worry about it. Second of all, you do have to be patient and take your time trying to peel your leaves off because you're trying not to rip them. Some of them are going to rip. There's nothing you can do about that. But do your best to get nice whole leaves. This is a smaller one. Some of them are quite a bit bigger than that. Here's a really big one, but you want to try to get really nice whole leaves. And then, as you roll them, we'll roll them on this, you're going to take your leaves and you're going to lay them with your rounded side down on the surface that you're rolling them on. And then you're going to take a nice sharp knife, and right here on your leaf, where the rib of the cabbage is very thick, you're going to want to cut a little V into that rib. And that's going to help your cabbage roll. It really makes a big difference. So once you have the V cut, you're just going to take your leaf and you're going to lay it with the rib toward you. You're going to measure out about 1/3 cup of this, of your beef and rice mixture. And then you're going to take that and you're going to form it into a little bit of a log. And you're going to set that in your leaf. You're going to want to start to roll that up, and you'll roll it up a little, right? Keeping your beef tucked in, and then you're going to want to fold the edges over and finish rolling it. And then you're going to set it in your cast iron skillet. You're going to want to take the seam side and you're going to want to put that down. We got 9 piggies from this recipe, which is a nice little amount. There's lots of cabbage left over. And I encourage you to just take that cabbage and stick it in your fridge, and in the next day or two, go ahead and use it in a stir fry. It is fantastic. Or use it in a soup. Don't let it go to waste. Cabbage is really, really good for you and just really tasty. And these are almost ready to go in the oven. So we're going to take and we're going to pour that sauce that we made over top, kind of evenly distribute it around there. Smells divine. And now we can talk about Grandma's secret ingredient. I have never seen it in anyone else's cabbage rolls. Maybe it's done. I don't know. I never seen it. And when I was looking at other recipes online to see what people were talking about and, doing, that's about getting to the top of the Google algorithm, because you want to provide more information than what everyone else is providing out there. So I always research everybody else's stuff when I do a post. And I didn't see this ingredient in any of the recipes. And it is, drum roll please, 1 can of sauerkraut. It's a 14.5 ounce can of sauerkraut, and all you do is you just take that and put it over the top. Kind of distribute it all evenly over the top. Any juice that's in the bowl you want to put in there too. So I have a lid for this Dutch oven. I'm going to take a few pictures. And I'm going to put this in the oven at 350 degrees for between an hour and an hour and a half. I do not know how long it's going to take in this Dutch oven, and this Dutch oven is not preheated, so it will probably take a little longer. But I'm thinking at least an hour and 15 minutes. If you're doing it at home, you're just going to want to check after about an hour. You know, it depends on what you're making it into. Full disclosure, Grandma did not do this in a cast iron Dutch oven. My grandmother actually didn't cook with cast iron. My grandmother did this recipe in a crock pot. This was one of her many crock pot recipes. She liked crock pots a lot more than I do. But I have always chosen to do it in a Dutch oven. Well, not always. I have done it in the crock pot, but I prefer it in the Dutch oven. So that's the way we're going to do it today. I'm going to put the lid on, I'm going to put it in there, and when it's all done, I will be back, and as always, we will have a taste together. Alright you guys, I'm going to pull some of these cabbage rolls out of here so that we can have some, but I just wanted to show you this skillet when it was done because, I don't know, it's kind of beautiful. Really is a beautiful thing. It looks amazing, and I can't wait to dig in. I can't wait to dig into this. I haven't had these in a very, very long time. I lived with my son for so long, and I just, you know, he never complained about what I cooked. He was just grateful that I cooked. But a lot of times, something like this that he didn't care for, I just wouldn't make because it was, you know, it was a lot to make it for myself. So I don't even remember how long it's been since I've had it, but too long. And I am about to get a bite, and I am pretty excited about it. I'm really pretty excited. Definitely just like Grandma's, but I knew I could make it like hers because I've done it before. So these are really fabulous, and you can just serve them just the way they are. We always just dug in. Once my grandmother put that lid on that crock pot, she considered her job done. So, you know, they weren't served with sides or anything. I do sometimes like to get like a big piece of crusty, crunchy homemade bread with butter on it and eat that with it. It's really fabulous. And you can serve it with a side salad or a green vegetable, or my other grandma's farm fresh coleslaw, which I will link down below the video for you if you want to check it out. I hope that you're going to make yourself some. Like I said, this is a labor of love, but take the time, make yourself some. And thank you so much for joining me here today. And you and I are going to get together again, and we're going to do it really soon.